Well, hello there. Hi, Sunny. How you doing today? I hope well. I saw your post last night about cactus fruit. What did you do with it? Hi, Tammy. Okay. Suni? Suni? Well, that's cool. Now I know. Thank you for that. All right. Okay, I see some people are getting on here. Sometimes it takes a couple of minutes. That sounds interesting. I'd like to taste that sometime. I've never had any cactus fruit before. Always learning something new. Okay, so today we're going to do some resin flowers, or resin with wildflowers in them. It's kind of fun, and I was hoping that my order from Amazon would have come in today. Actually, it is supposed to come in, but not till later. So I had ordered some new wildflowers, and I wanted to see, if the variety was much different than what I already have. So I don't know, maybe I'll post it later, just in the group page, just so you can see what I got. Well, hello, Patty. Hello, Diane. Okay. First time using the cactus root. Is it sweet, or you have to sweeten it? I have no clue. No clue. All right. So we will get started. I'm going to show you a few phases. I have some stuff made already in stages, so that way you can see the process, the entire process from start to finish. I hope that we get a good broadcast or a good reception. I see that I was interrupted already once here, probably on my end. I don't know, guys. There's always some kind of technical snafu. But anyway, I'm going to lower the camera and show you what I've got. And then I'm going to show you the supplies and talk about those a little bit. Okay. Sunny, you're saying sometimes the resin, it's sticky. It has to be, the thing with resin is you have to have your measurements exact, and I'll go over that when I'm preparing the resin. You have to have exactly the same amount of part A as part B. If you have more of one than another, that's what's going to happen. It's going to be sticky. It's never going to set. It's always going to be sticky like that. So, that's an issue. So I don't know if there is a cure for that or not. I don't know if you could make another small batch of resin and pour over that. I don't know. You'd have to kind of experiment with that, or just count it as a loss, I guess. I don't know. But it is very important to get your measurements exactly accurate. And that's kind of hard to do if you're eyeballing it. So for this, I'm going to actually measure my resin on a scale so that I have the exact proportions, because you know me, I like to eyeball just about everything, but with resin, it's really important to be accurate. So, okay, here goes. I'm going to turn the camera down here, and you can see, I'm gonna wait a second because my computer is always a little bit of a lag with the live feed, so I want to make sure that I've got it in the frame properly. Hey, Susan. Glad you could join us. Okay, so here are 3 pieces that are completed. And I've got a couple pieces ready to go to add the flowers, and then I have a few pieces that have the flowers tacked down, but it needs the top layer of resin yet. And then these are some empty bezels that we will fill, and I'll show you how we go about that. Now, I bought some of these bezels that you know, are just the frame. There's no backing, and those are cool if you want to do like a see-through pendant like this, or charm, whatever. So you have no background, you can see through it. The white, I really like the white background because I think it really makes the flowers pop. You can really see them well. Plus it hides the metal from the bezel, which these that I have here, these are ice resin bezels that aren't being produced anymore, but you can still find them on eBay and some on Etsy, and also Ranger ink online, so you can still find some. This is one of the ice resin, it's called a rune, R-U-N-E, rune bezel, and I did do a search for these, and I did find some on those places I mentioned. So, you know, it'll also be in the handout. But I thought this was pretty cool. I got this a couple of years ago in Tucson, in one of the shows that had the ice resin booth, and they were passing a free one out to everybody, and I just really thought it was cool, and I didn't really know what I was going to do with it, so it just kind of sat for a long time, and I decided I'd fill it with flowers today. So I think that's a good choice. So let's see here. Oh my, hi Patty. Patty says she had a friend who almost started a fire because her proportions were off. It got so hot it melted her cup. Wow, I've never heard of anything like that. That's pretty bizarre. Wow. Okay. Yeah, and the white background, they sell resin colorants that you can add to your plain your clear resin, but I found out that you can just use acrylic paint. And so it doesn't cost anything more, and it works. You just have to put very little in, you know, like, and I'll show you as I'm doing it, but you only put a few drops of the paint, and it goes a long way. But if you put too much, it messes up the ability for the resin to set. So you want to make sure that you just add the minimum amount. There's a percentage calculation somewhere that says so much percent of colorant to the resin. But offhand I don't remember what that is. But I put like 6 or 8 drops in my resin cup, and it didn't affect it at all. It set real nice and solid, so it's fine. Hi Renee. Okay, so anyway, those are what we're going to do today. And here's a resin, a bezel with the clear resin waiting for something to get filled. Now, when you do the clear or the backless bezels, you have to set your bezel on tape like this. I put a piece of packing tape on here, and it's got the bail in the right orientation, but it would be nicer in this case if the bail was turned the other way, so that way it would lay flat. But I hang that little bit of a bail over the edge of like a piece of cardboard or something so that it stays level, so the resin stays level when it's poured. So, I mean, there's always little tricks and ways to get around things, but I just used packing tape, and that seems to work really well. And I'll show you how I did that too as I go. Okay. All right, so let me put this aside. Well, I'm going to keep a few of these things out, and we'll work with them. These are the ones I need to fill with clear resin. They're all good to go. They're so cute. And I'll show you some other materials. Next up would be the flowers. And these I purchased on Amazon. They have a bazillion to choose from. And I just keep them in this little plastic box because they're very fragile. When you get them, at least the ones that I got, and I would imagine most of them are going to be like that, they package them in these little sleeves with a protective film, and then they have them, I don't know, on this little piece of fiber paper or material, maybe just so they don't stick together. I'm not really sure. But they have color combos packages that you can buy. And I just bought these 3 colors in blues, purples, and yellows. The ones that I've got coming today have some red in there, and I thought that that would be kind of cool to use. And most of them, I think, have some kind of foliage, some little greens in there that fell out of some of these packages, and they're all different. This one is kind of a weird, it looks like it was dyed. I don't know why they would do that, but it's such a emerald green, it doesn't really look like that would be a natural flower, but it's in the package. So but I doubt that I'll use those because they're just awfully green to my liking. All right, and the ones that I got also came with a little pair of tweezers, which I guess they're okay for this purpose. They're just cheapy little tweezers, but they work. The hardest part of doing all of this is picking out your flowers, and to see what will work within the space that you have also. So that's that. I am using a product called Art Resin. I was using ice resin, and I like it, but I was having trouble with it long-term storage. One of the bottles would turn kind of brown, and I'm going to see if this happens. I don't know if it happens to all resin or not, but it did happen with the ice resin, and I was kind of disappointed with that because then when you mix and pour, you're not getting that crystal clear look that you expect from a resin. So I don't know if it was just what I got. I don't want to bum wrap ice resin because I have been very happy with it in the past. Maybe it's just because I stored it or kept it too long. I really don't know. But anyway, I took a chance and I bought this, and I like it. So far, I like it a lot. So I will be buying more of this. So that's that product. I'm just using white acrylic paint as my colorant. I have Mod Podge that I'm going to use as my glue to stick my flowers to the resin inside the cups. I am going to use a micro tip applicator to apply the Mod Podge. I suppose you could use a paintbrush or something similar. I have a couple of craft sticks that I'm going to mix with. I have some little mixing cups. I bought these on Amazon, and they are like little medicine cups, and they have the measurement markings on the side, so you can use those, but I'm going to rely on my little scale right here and weigh the part A and part B so that I get the exact amounts that I need. I also have a minute timer, so I'm going to use that because this resin requires 3 minutes of mixing, and I want to make sure that that's accurate. And what else? I'm working on a silicone craft mat. So the resin, any excess resin that might spill, once it's dried, if you spill any on the mat, don't try to clean it. Just let it set, and when it's set, it will just peel off. So that makes a very messy job not messy. It's very easy to clean that way. What else? Oh, I have some disposable gloves. You'll be happy if you use them as opposed to getting that resin all over your fingers, because that's a mess. Have some regular packing tape, just some Scotch packing tape. Now they sell a product, if you start looking up resin stuff and the backless bezels, you need some kind of tape to stick them to. And so I saw this at Joann's and I bought a roll of it, which I'm kind of sorry that I bought it. But on the good side of that is you don't have to waste your money since I already have. But I don't like the way that it peels off and it curls. And also, as you peel it, there's like some little wave marks in the film. And that kind of transferred to my resin when I poured it. So I'm going to say, that's a hard pass on my list. So maybe I can use this for something else, but I don't think I like it for the purpose it was intended. They call it resist tape. Maybe there's some other way. Maybe they use this for, other art projects. They put a lot of resin on canvases, like art paintings and stuff that are covered in resin. So maybe it's more intended for that purpose than for the way that I tried to use it. So, so that's a thought. That could be more of a fair judgment for someone who does painting, canvas paintings, and they're using that as a resist, to not get resin on something. Okay. Hi, Cynthia. Yeah, the blue mat is a silicone mat, craft mat. I have those listed in my Amazon, in the guides, in the guides to shop for products that I use. They come in a 2-pack. There's all different kinds, but the ones that I got were pink and blue. And I cut the pink one up and I use it in smaller places. Like if I want to just make a little bit of something, I'll put this on a tray and then I can transport it, whatever. And I don't have this big sheet. So I actually ordered a couple more because I think it's pretty handy when they're cut up like this. The other thing you'll need is a torch because there are bubbles that surface. And for this, a torch is the appropriate way to get rid of those bubbles. So you just want a little micro torch, little creme brulee torch for that. You could also use glitter if you wanted to add to the background of your pieces. That adds a little bit more fun, I think, to some of them, and maybe even a little sparkle in some. Well, it is sparkly, but maybe in some of these clear-backed pieces, it might be fun to add. But if you use glitter, make sure that you get glass glitter. Usually it'll say German glass glitter, which it does on the iced enamels. It says German glass glitter, which is important because if you just used regular craft glitter, that is like plastic and it will float. When you put your resin in the bezel cup, your plastic glitter will just float up, where the glass will just stay where you put it. It'll stay down. So that's kind of a good tip if you like to use glitter. All right, so I think I've covered it all. So what I think my approach today will be, I will mix up a batch and I will cover these 3 that already have the dried flowers in there. They're dried and ready to go. So I'll do that, and then I will add some white paint to the resin, and we'll fill up some of these other little bezel cups, and then set those aside to dry, because once you pour your resin, it's got to sit for at least 12 hours. 24 is better, really, if you can let it sit. So I had to do always have to do these in stages if you're adding things to it. So this is a two pour job, okay? So the first pour will be to fill these bezel cups halfway, and then the second pour will be to fill these up and finish those off. I hope you understand where I'm going with this, because sometimes I don't understand where I'm going. All right. Okay, so I'm going to just move these over a little bit and just ask away if you have any questions. If you don't have one of these little jeweler scales, they're a nice little thing to have. I've used them for so many things, to weigh out beads, seed beads and stuff, rather than counting them all out. It's a handy little thing because it measures in grams and ounces. So that's kind of a good thing to have. All right, I am going to put my gloves on. All right, and I'm going to just use, because I've got the scale, I'm just going to use 1 cup. Normally what you do is use 2 cups, and you'd measure out part A and part B, and then you'd mix them together, and then you stir. But since I've got the scale, I can just weigh out how much I want of the first, and then add the second part in the exact same amount. So, all right, so let's say, and then keep a paper towel around to wipe off your tops of your jars, or your bottles, I should say. So I'm set on grams at 0, and I'm going to just pour in, let me get my magnifiers on, I'm going to pour. And this is all in, on the measurements, it's in cc's and mLs. So you can, where's the cup? Here's the cup that I marked before, that I marked at 5 cc's, and then I added, what would have been my measurement for that? Oh, and then I marked it off at 15 because I was adding 5 and 5. Well, 5 and 5 is 10. That's stupid. Where did I get my 5 or 15 mark at? I don't know. Don't forget about that. All right, let's see. I have to think about that. I confused myself. All right, so there's no way for me to know how much resin I'm going to need to fill these cups, but I always end up pouring more than I need. So I'm going to pour, I just got my measurement to 4 on, I don't know which one. This is the hardener that I used. So I'm going to pour to 4. So now I'm going to pour 4 more. Okay. And I went over just a skosh, so I'm going to try to even that up a little bit. I'm just going to add a couple more drops. Okay. All right, now we're good. If you clean the tops of your bottles, you'll be happy that you did, because they can get really messy. All right, so now that has served its purpose. I am going to set for 3 minutes on my timer. And, oh, I didn't show you this. I'm going to let that just sit for a minute. So I took a piece of packing tape and I pressed my bezel on there, and I'm going to turn it upside down, which I already did this, but then I'm going to take my craft stick and burnish the tape on the top of the bezel, so that way nothing seeps out. And sometimes a little bit will seep out anyway, but that's the key, is just a little bit, because you can scrape that off once the resin is set, but you would leave it alone until it's set. All right, so that'll be ready to go to fill that one. All right, so I'm going to set my, turn my timer on, and then I'm going to stir my resin for 3 minutes. So you have 3 minutes to watch me do something boring. So if you think of questions, you can ask those questions while I'm doing this. You want to make sure that you mix this thoroughly and that you stir around the outsides of the cup. Well, insides of the cup, but on the inside walls of the cup, put it that way. So that way you get it all, and also across the bottom. You don't want to mix vigorously, because that just creates more bubbles, but you do have to mix thoroughly. So it takes a little bit of time to incorporate it all really, really well. And then what I'll do is I'll pour a little bit of resin in this clear bezel, and then I will pour or fill these up with clear, and then I'll add some white paint to whatever is remaining to fill these empty bezel cups here. We had a little bit of, well, actually a lot of activity around here. I live just down the road from a very, very large high school, and there were several helicopters flying around this morning, and I guess there was a shooter in the building, but no injuries were reported, and they haven't found the shooter yet, or the, I don't know what else you'd call him. He didn't actually shoot anybody, but he or she, I don't know who it is, but they haven't found that person yet. and there's been all kinds of police cars around, but on the news it reports that there were no injuries, and I don't know, that was kind of crazy. This world has gone crazy. All right, we're just about there. Okay. Okay. All right. So then I'm going to let that just sit for a minute. And I've got my pieces here where I took my flowers and I put a little Mod Podge on, and I'll show you that because I'm going to fill these other cups. And I'll show you how I do that as we go. This one I need to hang over the edge because of that bail loop on there. All right. So I'm going to pour. I hope you guys can see this okay. Let me get a little closer. You want to be careful that you're not pouring too much, but you want to cover it all. Whoop, dummy. Got a drip right on the outside. All right. Wasn't paying proper attention. A safer way might be just to pick up your craft stick and put a couple of drops in, but you don't want too much. All right, so that one will hang over the edge. And now I'm going to fill and you want to fill them up as high as you can without having it go over, because they look so much nicer when they're domed. Make sure that you cover all the flowers, that the resin flows. Sometimes the resin gets hung up on a flower. You want to cover that up. And then I guess I could have started by gluing my flowers in on those other bezels, but it's all steps that have to be done regardless, so I guess the order that I'm showing it doesn't matter so much. But these flowers are so nice, they're so vibrant. I might have to mix up another batch to add the white paint to, because I was forgetting that I had to fill this larger bezel, and that takes a little bit more. I was trying to be a little frugal, and sometimes that doesn't pay off. Sometimes it helps to, get off of your chair and just kind of eyeball it from the edge of the table to see how high your dome is, if it's high enough, or there's kind of like a little breaking point where you can overfill and then it just starts to spill over the edge, which you don't want because then there's more cleanup involved. But that looks pretty good right now. And now I'm going to take the torch and ever so lightly get those bubbles out. You have to be careful because you can burn the tape and you can burn your mat, but you know, just be aware. But that looks pretty full and pretty good. But bubbles can still creep up even after this sits a little while. So you want to pay attention to this for a while. I would say probably for an hour, because on that larger pendant that I showed, there's a little bubble in there that's kind of like in the middle, not on the top surface. On this pendant that I had made, I babysat this thing for maybe half an hour, and very rarely would a bubble surface. And so finally I decided, well, it's done. And I cover with a box so that there's no dust or fuzz gonna land on it. And then when I checked it in the morning, there's a bubble right there. It's like, damn, I didn't expect that to happen, but it did. So that's why, you know, keep an eye on your stuff for a while. Okay. All right, so I'm going to set this aside and keep it level. And I have a like a plastic, you could get like a shoebox or something like that to cover over your pieces to keep them from getting dust or pet hair and stuff like that, because it happens. It happens more than you'd care to think about. All right, so I'm going to set this aside, but I'm not going to forget about it. And just cover it over. All right. So, where's that piece of rubber that I had? Here it is. All right, so this, or these, I should say, I might as well fill them all. I'm going to make another mix, and then I'll add the white paint to that. You know, I don't know if a heat gun will do that. I'm not certain. I've always heard the flame is what does it, so I've just used that. All right. So let's do I'll set that to 0. Okay. All right, 4 of that, and I'll do 4 of the other. So this should total 8. Okay. All right, I'll reset my timer. And then I'm going to add let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and a drip. And we'll see how white this becomes. If 6 drops becomes white enough, then that's all I'll add. If I want it to be just a little bit more opaque, then I might add another drop or 2. But honestly, I think this will do it. Get out of the way. You see, just 6 little drips of white paint. And this was 8 grams of resin that's in the cup. Let me see what that transfers to in ounces, if I can tell. I need to take that out because that would weigh. All right, so, oh, well, duh. We have to do this. Do an empty cup, because that's what I measured it at. All right. And that would come at 0.303, whatever that means. I'm very bad with math, guys. I just, I avoid it at all cost. All right, so I'm mixing this for 3 minutes. Oh, Tammy, I didn't hear about the ham and high one. This world has gone mad. Yeah, you may hear about this other on the news, although without any actual shootings, maybe it won't be as big a news item, but it's really sad that these kids have to go that route. Okay. All right, so that did my 3 minutes. And I am going to very carefully you could probably put this in one of those little pipettes or pipettes, whatever you call them, to distribute the resin without getting it dripped on the outside, because cleanup is always kind of sketchy with these bezels because you can scratch the finish off of them. I have a show coming up, not this weekend, but the weekend after. So if these come out nice, they'll be added to the table. And I have extra of these, just a couple of shapes, but I do have some available if anybody wants to purchase them. I can't remember what they are. I have to look what I paid for them. But I know I have the shields. The shields are, this is the smallest shield, and it comes in a medium and a large also. But if you're interested, just ask. Okay. And then I'm going to let those rest for just a minute. And then I will glue some flowers in the other bezel cups. The bubbles disappear like immediately, that first batch, and then sometimes they crop up a little bit, but those will dry now until tomorrow, and then tomorrow I can go ahead and do the next step, which would be adding the flowers. So I should have put a piece of cardboard under this to move it a little bit easier. I wasn't thinking clearly. I don't think I have anything stiff enough to do that. Oh, maybe this manila folder. Maybe. Oh, it's only part of a manila folder. All right. Well, you know what? I want to add this to under my plastic box. And had I thought about it, I should have put them all together. Let me get these other things here. I'll move these over here very carefully, so they're all on the same thing. And I can see a couple of other bubbles here, so I'm going to hit those with the torch. And I can also see just the tiniest piece of fuzz on here. So I'm going to take my craft stick and nab that, because I don't want that on there. All right, so now I'm going to just move this over to the side, cover it with the box, and proceed with the flowers. All right, so I'm going to take my, I'm not going to be mixing any more resin, so I'm just going to fill, I'm going to fill these 2 or 3 or 4. All right, so I'm going to put a little bit of Mod Podge in one of these cups. You don't need much. My advice is to wipe all these caps or the jars off at the top so you don't have problems opening them with stuck glue. All right, so I've got my glue. I've got my microfiber tip. I have my tweezers. I have my small scissors to cut up flowers. I had arranged the large one before coming on live, so I had kind of figured out, because that takes a while to figure out exactly what you want to use. So maybe I'll start with this and find the flowers are, I would suggest, if you haven't purchased flowers yet, to try to find as small of flowers as you can. A lot of the samples that I've seen are for fairly large flowers, and unless you're doing pretty big pieces, a lot of those flowers are going to not be that usable. However, you could trim them and use just sections of flowers. So I kind of just lay things out and kind of play with them a little bit. And, you know, because like see this daisy, it's cute, but it fills the entire piece, which is actually okay. Actually, I think that's not a bad thing. Maybe I'll just use that for that one. Kind of like that. All right, the smaller ones are more of a challenge because it's hard to, you know, to get a lot of variety, or I don't know if that's what I want to say, but it's hard to arrange them in such a small area. But that's where, you know, you can use little parts and pieces of different flowers. I don't know. Like I said, this is what takes a little bit of figuring out. Now these petals broke off of something else. I don't know. There are some little teeny blue flowers that I thought were quite cute, but there were not that many in the package. These, like, they look like little forget-me-nots or something. It's like right here. And try to pick them up with your tweezers so you don't break them, because some of them really are very fragile, and you will break them, and you may need your scissors to trim some of the pieces up so they fit. And you know, I've cut them up too to fit in here better. Sometimes less is more, but sometimes more is better. So, you know, it just that's kind of like not really, well, I'd like to make it as interesting as possible, but sometimes it works. And oh, now see, I just broke this petal off. Let's see if I can use this. Well, I think I'm going to go with that. All right, so I'm going to take a little bit of the Mod Podge, just a little bit, just enough to stick it down. And it dries clear, so that's not a problem. All right, so I want this guy here, so I'll put him down first, and then put my leaf in there. I'm going to use the bottom of my microfiber tip to press that down. You shouldn't have to hold it very long, but you want it to be down on the to be stuck down so it doesn't lift. when you put your resin on there. All right, so I have that. And then I was going to add another. And these have a front and back side, so you have to determine what those are before you play around with them. That doesn't look good. I should have probably put that one down first. I'm just trying right now. No, I don't think I like that second orange one on there. This is where it takes time. And a little bit of that orange kind of crumbled up. So I'm going to just put a little bit of Mod Podge on here. And if you get glue on your tweezers, make sure you wipe them off because you will be sticking to everything. Okay, so I think that's going to do it for that one. I think that, oh, I'm not even in the frame. Duh, sorry. Okay, so that's on there. And I'll set that aside, and I'm not going to pour these till probably an hour or so from now, just to make sure that that glue is dry. If you have something that you want to, I don't know about a hot plate. That might be a little bit too hot for the resin. I'm not sure, but I have a dehydrator that the air flows around everything, so it circulates. And I may put them in there just to circulate that, to dry the glue faster. All right, so now I'm going to put some, I'd rather put it on the flower, to be honest. Don't saturate it, but try to cover it, so I want the petals to all lay down on the resin. All right. Sometimes the leaves, when you get them, can be bent a little bit on these flowers and leaves, so you want to check all that out and try to straighten out if you can without damaging them. This one was curled down a little bit. Okay. All right. So, you know, some of these are quite small and maybe they wouldn't be to your liking for a pendant, but they would be a nice little charm that you could add to something. Just trying to stick that one petal down there. I think I got it. Okay, so that's two. And I've got my flowers picked for this big one. Try to get these out of the way so I don't destroy them. There's my glue sticking to that. And, you know, even little pieces that break off, save them, you know, they may fit in a little spot somewhere on your piece. Oh, I forgot about this guy. Well, I'll do him too, but I'll do the big one first. All right, so let's see here. I am going to, I've got my little things chosen. I just put it on a piece of paper here. I wish you could choose exactly what you wanted in these flowers, but it's just not possible. Make sure that you get the front and back side right. You get what you get in these packages, and some of the things I think are, I don't know, some of the leaves are kind of big, and you just have to look through them. You know, there's several pages you'll just have to scroll through and see what Amazon has, but they do have a nice selection. And you can save, you can pick wildflowers and or dry, dry your own flowers. My buddy Nancy is doing that right now. She's got a nice big piece of property, so she goes on her morning walks often and started to pick wildflowers. And she's got a, she said she has a microwave flower press, so that's kind of cool. So she can just do her own. All right, let's see here. So these fern leaves, they come quite large, but you can just cut off little pieces and get them to fit where you want. I saw, this was years back, but at one of the art shows that I went to, this lady did paintings, well, art, not she didn't paint them. Maybe she did paint part of them, but she did these beautiful beautiful pieces with all dried flowers, and it had to truly be a labor of love, because that looked like an awful lot of work. And now I regret that I never bought one, because I haven't seen her since. I don't know if she was from this area or not, so never saw her again. This is a little hydrangea leaf or flower, which is kind of cute. Then I'm going to put this guy in there. These are a little bit, again, make sure you've got the right side. This is kind of hard to get all the little sticky parts glued in, but if you have it just enough so that it's tacked down so that the resin doesn't pull it up when you pour, you should be good. And I wanted to add, I thought I was going to have this other, I want to put this other piece right here. Come on, stay down. And then this pretty cool daisy. This is just a part of a daisy. And I have glue on my tweezers. That's what I was talking about. Make sure you get that stuff off. Wow, I almost ruined that. All right, and now my little blue flower. Cover up that stem a little bit with this little blue flower. That's the plan anyway. Okay, so I think that's good. You have to futz around and mess it up. I wanted those little petals to lay down there a little bit better. Sometimes you're better off leaving well enough alone. All right, I'm going to leave that like that. So that's this one. And I'll set that aside so they dry, and then I will pour the clear resin over them later on. All right, so now I just have this one left. And this is the one that had that little waviness from that tape that I didn't care for, but maybe when I put the flowers on there and then do the second pour of resin, maybe that will fix it. I don't know. It's all kind of, you know, it's kind of a guess. All right, so I like these ferns. They don't always work in everything, but maybe I should put a little glitter in this one to just kind of see. Oh no, I would add that before I put the glue. I mean, before I put the next layer of resin. Yeah, so I can't do it on this. Sorry, I talk to myself too when I'm working. That's too big. See, that's the problem with some of these flowers. They're beautiful, but they don't always fit. How about just a random petal or two under something, so it gives the illusion that there's more under there. Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. I don't know. This is truly just playing around till you see something you like. That might be a little bit too cluttered. Can you do this with pictures? Not sure what you mean, Tammy. To do it, tell me more. I mean, if you're going to put the flowers down, you mean like under glass, like a picture under glass? I'm sure you could, if that's what you mean. I don't know, that's just not doing anything for me. And I don't really have much in the way of white. White would have maybe been pretty to add in there. Oh, I do have. I do. I do. Renee, I do use UV resin on some things, but something that has a lot of depth, I wouldn't. I just wouldn't do it. Um, I think that the UV resin. Now, this is just my opinion. I don't really know, but I think the UV resin can be a little bit more grainy or bubbly. I don't know how to describe it. I've used it for thin applications, and it's been fine. But I don't know about something thick. So I don't really know. I think this'll be okay. All right, maybe. I don't guess they're all going to be masterpieces. Although I kind of like this purple too. But I'd rather save this for a larger piece. It's a nice piece. All right, so I'll just put, it's hard to tell on the leaves, front from back on some of it. That might be too much. You just want to put as little glue as possible. Probably the back of an eraser might be nice to press this down with. Because my fingers want to pull it out. If that glue gets on your fingers a little bit. Now where's the front and back to this? Guess I'm going to go with this. Oops. So what I'll do is, like I said before, I'll let those dry, and then I'll pour the resin in them and show you guys tomorrow. It just doesn't pop for me. I'll show you tomorrow what they look like dry. I don't know, guys. I'm not loving some of this. I wish those other flowers would have come in. You know they'll come as soon as you guys are, when I'm done here. Ah, perfect. This one will do. Then I'm going to check those other ones that I poured for bubbles. And then we can talk. All right. Ugh, it's sticking. It's kind of precision work a little bit. All right. Okay, that'll work. All right, so let's check on the bubbles on the other pieces. Set this to the side to dry. All right, let's see here. So there's the box covering these things. They're looking pretty good, but there's still just a few bubbles on that big one. The other ones appear to be okay. Just be careful with the torch so you don't burn anything up. But I think those are going to be nice. And I'll cover that here, keep them safe. If you have pets and you have pet dander floating around, you definitely will want to cover your pieces because it will find them. It will find them for sure. Just clean this up here. And I think I covered everything. Oh, thanks. You like my rings? Yeah, I wear these all the time. That they're my favorite four that I just wear together. And okay, let's see. With photos, Tammy, yeah, I don't see why not. I do not see why not. Just be careful with the amount of glue, that you put on there, and or Mod Podge. But like I said, that dries clear, and you could try that and see. I would maybe try it on something that a photo that that you don't care about too much, or just yeah, I think I would do that. I think I would try that. Actually, that could be quite cute. That is actually a good idea. I'm sorting through photos right now. After we had the house fire some years back, all of our photos were saved. They didn't get affected. I had them in a cedar chest. I had them all in photo albums in a cedar chest, and the cedar chest just got singed a little bit, but it didn't affect the contents. And we had a service, like a fire restorer service or whatever, that came and got all the stuff, and they took it and put it in this ozone, I don't know how it works, some kind of ozone room, and it takes any smoke smell out of everything, furniture, everything. Well, they took all the pictures out of my photo albums and gave them all the treatment, but then all the photos were just like loose in a box. So all my family photos, travel photos, all that stuff was just piled together. And I was looking for something the other day, and I had to open that box, and I found a lot of poorly taken, photos that I threw in the garbage. I may retrieve one of those and glue a flower to it and see what happens. So Tammy, I will get back to you on that. So if you guys have any other questions, ask away. Otherwise, I will post this stuff later on of the, how they turned out. Oh, I was going to fill these others with resin, but I wanted to make sure they're dry first. So yeah, I guess I already said that. So yeah, I will mix up some clear resin in a little while, and I'll pour these 4. And then tomorrow I will show you how they turned out. All right. I sent the prizes out from the giveaway. They went out in the mail yesterday, so for whoever won the giveaway prizes, they should be coming shortly within the next few days. Wendy, yours is going to be a little while since it's going to Canada. They always take forever to get stuff sent over there. And what else? Is there anything else that we need to talk about? I don't know. Oh, I know what we need to talk about next week. Oh, before I quit talking about those or get on to the next subject, I wanted to show you these things too, because I forget. So there's a company called littlewindows.com, and they have a whole bunch of products for resin. And some years back, they were at the Bead and Button show, and I was there, and I saw this system that they have. If you don't want a metal bezel around your piece and just want a resin piece, there's these little resin molds that you can glue your pictures in there, your clip art, what have you, and then you can pour your resin in here, and then you just pop them out once they're cured. So they have different shapes. I think it's just these 4 shapes: little squares, rounds, rectangles, and ovals. And then they have a template that you can cut, use to cut your clip art or whatever. Tammy, this might be something to use a photo in too, so I may try one of these as well. It hasn't gotten a lot of use, but there's potential there. And then when you make these bezels, or these resin, they're not bezels, but when you make these pieces, then you use a small twist drill and drill the hanging hole, once the resin's all cured. So that is an option. Oh, they have these at Michael's? Oh, I didn't know. But they do have them online at littlewindows.com, and that'll be in the handout too. One product that I really do like from them is their resin mat. This is kind of beat up, but this has got those little nubs. It's all silicone. So you can just place your pieces right on top of the mat here, and then you can pour away, and then if you have overflow, it goes into these little grooves, and then when the resin is set, you can just bend it and pop off the resin. It's pretty nice. I primarily use this if I'm doing a lot of production work. If I'm just doing 1 or 2 pieces, I don't usually use it, but that's from littlewindows.com as well. All right, and these are some of the ice resin bezels that I still have. These are nice size to make a bracelet, if you wanted to do that. I've got, let's see, several of the squares. And then I have the shield pendants. There are 3 pieces. No, 3 pieces like that, or 3 pieces in here, and then a small package of shields. So I have several packages of these. If you're interested, I will post how much they are, and I will send them out to you. Okay, so for next week's going to be a lot of fun. Let me get these out of the way. And I will set up. All right, let me just set this up and I'll show you. You may or may not be interested, but I sure had fun making them. And this will be pinch pots. Ta-da! These are air-dried clay that I just formed with my hands, and they're kind of fun. You can make little dishes, like little ring dishes or little trinket dishes with the clay. I painted them on both sides. These you can roll with textures. Like I have a bunch of rubber textures for metal clay, so that I just roll the top of this air dry clay with the metal clay tools. They worked just fine. And then I've got these, well, I had these little plastic succulents. So I just put them in there just to show you what you can use them for. But these are not ceramic. They are not something that you can eat or drink out of. This is just acrylic paint over this air-dried clay. So they are not waterproof. However, I did add a sealer on them, so they should be protected, somewhat. But if you were going to put a live plant in one of these, I would suggest drilling a little hole when the clay is still, when you're cleaning the clay. But I think they're just really darn cute. I have a lot of air plants upstairs, so that's actually what I'm going to use these for after I do the demo. I'm going to bring these in the kitchen and put my little air plants in there. They should be just fine for that. So that's kind of fun. As far as durability, I would imagine they're fairly durable. Like this little bowl is heavy. The plates, the little dishes are not, but I would imagine they should be fine or no worse than, say, a terracotta pot if you dropped it. If you dropped that, it would break for sure. But honestly, I haven't wanted to try that on one of these, so and it hasn't happened naturally, so I guess time will tell on those. But they sure were fun to make and paint. My grandson and I had a lot of fun painting them, and we're going to make some more, because this is, again, another thing that has to be done in stages. I will have them for the demo next week in the raw form to actually build them, but also some will be dried, so then I can show you how you clean them up and sand them. And then I'll have some already done, sanded, and ready to be painted, so you'll be able to see that as well. But it's a fun thing to do. It's very tactile. It's very creative. They're a little bit wonky, and that's okay because they're handmade, and I'm not a potter, and these are just strictly made by hand to build them that way. So if they're wonky, that's fine. Okay, so I guess, you guys, that's going to be it for today. If you have any questions or concerns or whatever, or ideas, just give me a holler, and on the website. And so that's going to be pinch pots next week, and then Nancy's going to come back the week after, and we're going to do some dot painting. So that'll be good fun too. So thanks for joining me. I always enjoy when you guys are around, and I will see you next time. So take care. Bye-bye.